Mani, how do you know all this? Dogs are very smart, you know. But what about boxers and poodles? Mani burst into laughter. I used to live with a very rich person, but I don't feel like talking about that right now. Someday you'll learn everything. Now let's go home, it's getting pretty late. Mani was right. It was almost dinner time, so we ran back to the house. However, I couldn't eat. I had no appetite. My mom looked at me with concern. Kira, are you having problems? I just took a deep breath. What could I possibly tell her? I still had so many things to think about. There were so many unresolved questions. Finally, dinner was over. I went to my room and immediately got to work. I needed a photo album. I grabbed an old album of poems and decided it would do nicely. Now I had to paste in some pictures of a computer in California. But I didn't have any photos or brochures, absolutely nothing. Suddenly I realized that I hadn't been taking my desires very seriously, so I decided to go out and get the necessary brochures tomorrow. Now it was time to work on the piggy banks. Eventually, I found an old candy box. I cut a slot in the lid, just like a piggy bank, and wrote laptop in big letters with a marker. Then I sealed the lid with sticky tape. Maybe I could find a large photograph to stick on the lid. That way, the entire box would look like a laptop, with a slot for coins. I liked that idea. Next, I took an empty box from my dad's cigarettes and wrote San Francisco on the lid. Leaning back in my chair, I thought, I already have my piggy banks, but what am I going to put in them? At that time, I received 12 euros a month for pocket money. That was just enough to buy one compact disc. I pondered. If I put 3 euros into each box, I wouldn't have enough money even for one CD. It wasn't an easy decision. Maybe it would be better if I bought CDs not every month, but only once every 2 or 3 months. That way, I could save half of my pocket money. I liked that idea, so I put 3 euros in each piggy bank. I looked at the piggy banks with pride. I was filled with the confidence that everything would work out. My mood immediately lifted. I went to bed, still feeling a sense of joy. I had learned so much today. My life had become so interesting. Surely no one else has ever had such an unusual dog. In the end, I fell asleep. I dreamed of Mani, America, and a computer. He boy Daryl, who earned a lot. Kira, it's time to get up. I heard my mother's voice. If she hadn't woken me, I would have definitely overslept. Sometimes I just want to sleep a little longer in order to finish an interesting dream. I stretched in bed. Mom pulled back the curtains and the room became bright. She looked around disapprovingly. The children's room was in complete disorder. Suddenly, her gaze fell on my dream piggy banks. Mom picked them up and reading the labels, laptop and San Francisco, she frowned. What kind of tricks is this? She asked. I blushed. Suddenly, I felt hot. You know, I've always dreamed of flying to America, and I also thought that homework would be better done on a computer. So I decided to save money, I replied. Mom looked at me skeptically. In each hand, she held one piggy bank. She shook them, and coins rattled inside the boxes. And so it really is money, she marveled. How much is in there? I wasn't enjoying this conversation at all. 3 euros each, I muttered quietly. 3 euros for a computer and for a trip to the USA? Well, it won't be long then, Mom giggled. If you need 1,500 for the trip, then... She began calculating in her head. 3 euros a month multiplied by 12 is 36 euros a year. Multiply that by 10 years, and that's 360 euros. It means you'll be able to fly when you're around 40. After finishing her calculations, she burst out laughing. I hated it when Mom laughed at me. I felt so foolish that tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't want Mom to see me crying, so I tried as hard as I could to hold back my tears, but unsuccessfully, and that only made me even more furious. Mom left the room and shouted to my father, Georg, we don't have a daughter here. We have a financial genius. She'll be flying to San Francisco soon. Ha ha ha. I couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, I will fly, just you wait. Next summer, and I won't even send you a postcard from there. You can sit here with your debts. I'm not going to help you. Slamming the door, I ran back to my bed and burst into tears. I was angry at myself for losing control. I wanted to trample on those piggy banks. Of course, nothing would come of this idea. It was just so ridiculous. Right after school, I'd tell Monty that it all meant nothing. Flying to America when I'm already a grandmother. Unbelievable. It was far from my best day at school. I just couldn't pull myself together.